All right, we got another one, another self-defense, another Walmart shooting. You guys, honestly, when I tried to pull up footage of this event, I typed in Walmart shooting. Dozens of Walmart shootings popped up. So anyway, I found this one. This is another one. Is the country ready for another self-defense? After Chud the Builder, after Carmelo Anthony, after you know, just one case after another, one case after another. Are we ready for this? I don't know. I honestly feel like it almost feels like something is up. It feels like it feels like it's just one thing after another. Choco Beauty, how are you? I see you. Yeah, I don't know. All right, so we're gonna look at this one and we're going to talk about, is this self-defense? Some people are like, absolutely yes. Some people are like, absolutely no. And then there's a lot of people in the middle who don't want it to be self-defense, but they're having to kind of say, like this is a really, really tough one. And it is. This is a tough one. If you don't believe that self-defense should be available to black people, sorry, if you don't believe that self-defense should be available to black people, and there's a lot of people who consciously or unconsciously do not believe that self-defense is available to black people. If you have not watched my video about why self-defense is never available for black people, you should watch it. Okay, so I am going to we're gonna play this video, and I'm gonna show you all the areas where I think clearly self-defense, but I'm gonna show you why she's gonna have some problems. And it sucks, but I think I've talked about self-defense before, and I talked about the Cyrus Carmack Belton case, and I talked about how you cannot give these people anywhere to go. You cannot give these people any reason to make self-defense not available to you. And there's a couple things, you know, there's a couple little things that I see in this video that might end up causing this girl some problems. Okay, so let me pull up the video, and we're going to look at the statute. We're going to look at the statute word for word. We're going to look at we're going to actually look at the video. I think these are some of the clearest pictures that what you're looking at right now. I think this is some of the clearest pictures that you're going to see of these two people. Now, this is the picture of the woman on the day of the incident. You can see that she's got her pew-pew in her hand. And then this appears to be quite an old picture of him, right? This is a nostalgic picture of him looking all dreamy and looking like a nice, handsome guy. This was not him on the day of the incident, right? On the day of the incident, he appeared to have all white hair, significantly older, right? So this picture is probably quite old. Okay, so let me just pull everything up here. All right, so here we go again, self-defense. Hi, you guys. My name is Gray. Welcome to the channel. I am a real practicing attorney. I'm licensed in multiple states, and I'm now a YouTube creator. This is my channel, Counsel Gray, where I present legal and social commentary on your favorite cases and issues. This is not legal advice. Nothing I say should be taken as legal advice. We do not have an attorney-client relationship. And because I'm a practicing trial attorney and have been for 20 years or almost 20 years, I do talk a lot of trial procedure and trial strategy. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what I think where this girl might have some trouble. You guys go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, because I want to hear what you guys think. Okay, so if you haven't already heard, this happened about 5 days ago. This woman and this man were in a Walmart parking lot. Some things went down. She ends up shooting him, and she claims that it's self-defense. She is not in custody right now, which is an indication, not dispositive, but is an indication that law enforcement on the scene, of course, they run it up the chain of command. They have reason to believe that this may actually be a viable self-defense claim. Now, we know from the Ahmaud Arbery case, where those guys were out for like a year, things change. right? Things will change. This footage will go through a lot of hands. Things will be clarified. They'll look at footage in the surrounding neighborhood. They'll look at footage from inside the Walmart. They'll make a lot of big decisions. They won't just go on, I mean, they'll look at a lot of footage before they make a decision. They won't just go on the one piece of footage from the Tesla. I actually had to search pretty hard, and shout out to News 10 for this. I'm about to show the video. Shout out to News 10 for, which I'm sure you've already seen, right? Shout out to News 10 for this, because I had to search far and wide to find someone who showed how the altercation actually started. One thing that you notice is a lot of the news stations, they start the footage a little further into the interaction. Okay, so let me share with you guys exactly what the Florida statute says, so that as you're watching it, you can decide what you think. All right. So this is a two-part statute, and this is the justifiable use of force statute for Florida. Part number 1. A person is justified in using or threatening to use force, except deadly force, against another when and to the extent that the person reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the other's imminent use of unlawful force. A person who uses or threatens to use force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat before using or threatening to use such force. So right away, you can tell just by the language of the statute, you're going to be looking for the words justified. You're going to be looking for reasonably believes. You're going to be looking for necessary to defend, and against another's imminent use of unlawful force. These are the words that the fact pattern that the videos are going to be compared against. Okay, so this is part 1. This is the except deadly force part. Here's part 2. A person is justified in using or threatening to use deadly force if he or she reasonably believes that using or threatening to use such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, to prevent the imminent commission of a forcible felony. Now, here's the thing. Here's what people are talking about, and you decide for yourself when I show the video. Okay? It says using or threatening to use, right? Now, a lot of gun people, gun instructors, right, they'll say, don't pull out a weapon unless you intend to use it. Well, the statute says right here that you can threaten to use it, right? So people who are like, no, if you pull that out, that means you're intending to use it. Not necessarily, because the statute has a carve out for threatening to use it. So is what she was doing originally a threat that he didn't respond to? Y'all decide for yourselves. Okay. A person who uses or threatens to use deadly force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground if the person using or threatening to use the deadly force is not engaged in a criminal activity and is in a place where he or she has a right to be. All right, so that's part 1, the non-deadly force. Part 2, the deadly force. I want to draw your attention definitely to the word using or threatening, necessary, justified, reasonable, imminent. That's what you guys have to decide. All right, so I'm going to play the video. Shout out to News 10 for going a little further back in the footage.
We're going to start this with the video. The victim with the gray shirt. The woman with a gun. There is a standoff, and then the shooting. You can hear it.
He was a good man.
A daughter in tears. Amanda lost her 62-year-old father, Bart, shot in the stomach in a Walmart parking lot in North Lauderdale.
I just don't think anybody deserves to lose their life over a parking spot.
Cops say an adult female and the victim were involved in a verbal altercation over a parking space in the Walmart parking lot prior to the shooting.
I don't like to deal with death and like to talk about it at all. That's why I was very hesitant to do this interview.
But you are doing it. Why do you want to speak about your dad?
Because I want my dad to be remembered for who he was and not who the media is portraying him to be.
According to investigators, the shooter, the adult female, remained on scene, cooperated with detectives, and she told them the shooting was in self-defense.
He loved his country. He loved his country.
Bart served in the military. There are no charges in this case at this point. Amanda says she was estranged from her dad for many years, but recently they were working on repairing their relationship. And just like that.
Okay, so there's a couple things, and I'm gonna go back and play it in slow motion and kind of walk you through what happened. And there's some things that you got to look out for. Okay, so let me go back and let me play it in slow motion.
We're going to start this with the video. The victim.
Okay, so you can see how fast he approached him, how fast he approached her. He approached her with a lot of speed. But did you also notice that she already had the gun in her hand? In fact, she got out of her car with the gun in her hand. Now, I don't know how that's going to cut, right? Do you get out of your car? There's no duty to retreat, meaning she would not have had to get back into her car. But she got out of her car with that gun in hand. Now, it wasn't pointed, but she definitely got out of that car with her gun in her hand. I'm going to back it up just a couple minutes and see if we can see her get out of the car. We really can't the way they have it cut, but you can definitely see that the gun is already in her hand. Let me play it again.
We're going to start this with the video.
All right, you see? That gun is in her hand already. And for whatever reason, this guy walks up to her. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I think he did it. But her gun is already in her hand, and she got out of the car with that gun in her hand. So there's no duty to retreat back into her car. But she did walk towards that with her gun in hand.
The victim with the gray shirt. The woman with the gun. There is a stand.
And then he comes, right? So this van is like, let me get out of here. When he comes around that minivan and he sees that she has a gun out, he does kind of stop and pause. And then he goes right back to chasing her, but his pace slows down tremendously. Right before he saw that gun, and I'm going to play it again real slow so you can see how his cadence changes when he comes around that minivan and he sees the gun. And then for the rest of the pursuit, it's like a slow motion O.J. Simpson type scenario. Okay, watch how he approaches her, and then watch when he comes around that minivan how he pauses and then starts going towards her again slowly. That's the first time he saw it.
We're going to start this with the video. The victim with the gray shirt.
See, he backs up.
The woman with a gun.
And keeps going.
There is a standoff, and then the shooting. You can hear it.
What I see, he definitely is charging towards her. But I also see that she got out of her vehicle and put herself into it with her gun already in hand. He may try to say, or someone might try to say on his behalf, that he was trying to neutralize what he perceived as a threat. I don't know. You guys decide for yourselves. But nobody's talking about the fact that she got out of that car with her gun in hand. Okay. So then we see him follow her around and around and around. And it's like this slow motion O.J. Simpson chase type incident, right? Remember how slow the O.J. Simpson chase happened? Like people had time to go home and make posters and hang them over the side of the bridge, like run, O.J., run. This is like bizarrely slow. But he clearly chases her around and around and around, and she's backing up. She's on the phone. Now, here's the thing. Couple of things. What it's going to come down to, and I have said, if you give these people anywhere to go, if you are a Black person and you give these people anywhere to go, they will strip you of self-defense so fast. We've seen it. We've seen it, right? We've seen the aggressor become the victim and the victim become the aggressor. So I need to do a video about how to respond in self-defense cases, because here's the other thing. It's going to come down to what was she saying on the call to the 911, and we don't have that footage yet. She could very well have talked herself out of a self-defense, depending on what she was saying. It is also possible that whatever he was saying could also talk her out of a self-defense claim. Now, to me, this is clearly self-defense. You're chasing this girl around and around and around. Now, I looked at her t-shirt, right? And she's got typical angel wings, and it says, long live, I can't read, I can't make it out, Daming, Denning, whatever it is. She's in mourning, might have affected her perception of what was going on, might have affected her willingness to discharge her firearm or not, right? We don't know if this is her own child here. We don't know. Okay. We just know that she felt this guy moving towards her very quickly at first, until she first showed him that she would raise that gun on him. And then he slowed down, but kept pursuing her, right? If she does not get self-defense, it's going to be for one of these three reasons. Okay. One, she got out of the car with her gun in her hand, meaning she was inserting herself and that firearm into whatever she thought was happening outside of that car. Now, again, she has no duty to retreat. I just read the statute to you. She has no duty to retreat. But can you get out of your car with your gun and then claim self-defense? I don't know. We'll see. The second area that she might have to deal with is whatever she was saying on that 911 call. Now, there were witnesses who said that she was screaming and crying, and that counts in her favor. But hopefully she didn't say anything in that 911 call that would strip her of that self-defense claim. Things she might have said. I'm tired of these people messing with me. This chump, anything that minimizes the size of the threat that he was. Oh, this chump, this sucker, right? Something like that. Like he's a nobody. He's a non-threat. And we won't know until we get the 911 call. If he was approaching her and he was saying, and the 911 call picked it up, I'm going to tell you in a minute. Someone said, if anyone pulls out a gun on me, I'm running. I'm going to tell you why this guy didn't take off running in a minute. We haven't even gotten into his state of mind, okay? If the 911 call happened to pick up something like, hey, lady, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. Hey, lady, I'm sorry. You caught me on a bad day. Hey, lady, right? Whatever he might have been saying. We heard her saying, walk away. Now, this is very, very close to what Carmelo said. This is very close to what Carmelo said, right? She is heard on the audio saying, walk away. Similar to what Carmelo said. If you keep doing this, something bad's going to happen, right? We know what this language means. Walk away. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. A lot of people keep saying that this guy is no longer, this guy is no more over a parking spot. That is such a trivial. The parking dispute is just the clothing that a much bigger issue was wearing. Okay? The issue is not that they were squabbling over a parking lot. At this point, they were past the parking lot. At this point, this guy was bearing down on her, tapping into 400 years of white men not regarding the black female form, feeling dominant over the black female body just because. So in her mind, consciously or unconsciously, a white man bearing down on you is a real threat. We've got 400 years of that, right? So it's not just that this guy is walking towards her. It's not just about this parking dispute. It's that white men have shown for 400 years that they will do whatever they feel like to black women's bodies. And that's a threat, right? So when you talk about the reasonableness of the threat, you can't necessarily go by the reasonable person standard. You have to go by the reasonable black woman standard. And you have to get your jury to understand that. This is not about a parking lot. This is 400 years, 400 plus years of something else that runs through her veins. Now, I don't know. We're going to get into what her status is. I hope she's a U.S. citizen, but I don't know. We already can see that she's in mourning of some type. And then you've got 450 years of, 400 plus years, not 50, 400 plus years of history bearing down on you. You don't know what is going through this. You don't know what her adrenaline was telling her. You don't know what her nervous system was telling her, right? You don't know what her generational trauma was telling her in this moment. And it's bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And people are not going to like when I say this. I'm not even sure if it's conscious or not. White men feel and believe that they are the only ones who can govern, who can be where and when, at what time. They feel they can govern time, space, and place. This is the same thing we saw with Carmelo Anthony, Austin and Hunter believing that it was their right to dictate who can be where, whether it's a parking spot, whether it's the bleachers, whatever it is. They legitimately believe that they are the ones who get to dictate where everyone else gets to be. He didn't believe that she should be in that parking spot. And then if you compound that with, apparently he was trying to block her and she squeezed into the parking spot anyway. Now he's feeling like she just one-upped him. She won the little game. Generally speaking, white men cannot handle that. Generally speaking, they cannot handle that. The other reason that he chased her is because American society does not know Black women to be self-defenders, other than scrapping on the street, other than fighting in, Taco Bell, fighting at the drive-through window, right? This is what people think Black women are going to do. They don't know us to be self-defenders. But here's the data that they should know. The fastest growing group of gun buyers is Black women. Is Black women. But they don't know Black women that way yet. He probably never thought that she would actually fire that gun. He probably never thought that she would actually fire that gun. He literally thought that she was playing with the gun. Because they don't know. They haven't seen it yet. To a large extent, Black women have not played that role. So there's another thing that I thought about, right? That what if this guy was suicidal? Sorry if that's a trigger for anybody, but I know of a particular case where a guy ran out onto a highway, got hit by a lady while he was on the phone with his girlfriend, telling her she should never have broken up with him. That came out much later. He literally runs into the freeway in front of a car. Some car swerved out of the way. The lady hit him. Come to find out later on, he had been on the phone with his girlfriend, basically wanting her to hear him do this to himself. Now, it is possible this guy had a limp. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. I don't know. Maybe he wanted her. Maybe he wanted that to be the end of it. I don't know. We don't have any evidence of that. The only evidence that we have of that is that this guy actually wanted to get sent packing, is that he kept pursuing her when she showed him what was in her hand. He didn't believe it. He thought he had the right to dominate her. I don't know. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about it in the chat. You guys go ahead and like and subscribe. Share the video. I want to hear what you guys think. Also, if you'd like to support the channel and the work that I'm trying to do here, please send a super chat. I would love it. And I have big goals for the channel, so any bit of support would be very, very helpful to the channel. So I thank you for that. I thank you for those of you that have supported the channel since the very beginning, and those of you who are new to the channel. Okay, so I hope that this goes the way that people think it's going to go, that this is a clear case of self-defense. But there could be the fact that she got out of the car again. And also, it will come out what she was saying to 911 when she was on the phone with them. Because apparently they responded very, very quickly, unless these videos have been edited, right? But if the timing of these videos is in any way accurate, they were there literally within, you know, minutes, not necessarily minutes of when it started, because it lasted for a while, but minutes after, you know, it looked to me like maybe a minute or two after she discharged her firearm. So I don't know. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so there is one other thing that I wanted to talk. I think that's on my next slide. Okay, we read the statutes. On her t-shirt, right? I zoomed in on her t-shirt, and this clearly, you know, maybe it's her son, maybe, I don't know who this is, but she might be in mourning, right? So the question is, and I got a super chat. Thank you very much. Let's see. Devin G's, hey, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for the support. I appreciate you. Glad to know you're here today. Okay, so thank you, Devin. I appreciate that. Okay, so I zoomed in on her t-shirt, and she's wearing this thing, and I want to talk about this reasonable person standard, right? Because all of this comes down to what would a reasonable person believe that they were in danger. Now, some people who do not want this woman to have self-defense available to her, they're going to talk about how slow he was moving, how she could have backed up, how, you know, she could have just turned around and run, right? Florida doesn't require any of that. It does draw a distinction between what's legal and what's smart or wise or right, right? She may have, clearly she could have outrun the guy. I mean, I don't know what her handicaps are, right? Not all handicaps are visible, but he certainly was limping. He was certainly in his Kaiser Sose. Could she have run? Probably. Could she have stayed in her car? Probably. Did she have to by Florida law? Absolutely not. But when you think about it, had she walked away, had she gotten in her car, had she run, had she, you know, done anything but what she did, it would be over. She would be home already with her family. It would be done, right? So when we talk about what's legal versus what's smart versus what's moral, she could, right? This is going to be a whole big thing for her. It's just because she's home, she's going to have to deal with this thing until it goes away, until, you know, there are clearly no charges, right? She could have done all of that, but she doesn't have to. Okay. So anyway, so I zoomed in on her shirt. She's in mourning. So when you talk about the reasonable person standard, as a trial attorney, you would have to get the jury to see it in terms of a reasonable Black woman standard. Now, people are going to say it has nothing to do with race and that. It absolutely does. The way you see the world, the way you perceive a certain threat, absolutely has to do with your history with that group, your relative sizes, your relative ages, all of that stuff comes in. So what is a reasonable person, right? And then she's in mourning, right? Is this her own kid on her t-shirt? Right? So now it's the standard is not just a reasonable person, right? There's no such thing as a reasonable average person, right? It's the reasonable Black woman who's being, you know, has a larger white man bearing down on her. Also, she just lost her son, right? All of this stuff goes into the reasonable person standard. And anyone who tells you that it doesn't is lying. They don't understand, right? So understanding the psychology of your jury, you have to ask yourself, can the jury do that on their own? Or do I need to help them see the incident through her eyes? And that's the whole point of having a mixed representative jury, because it increases the chances that somebody in there will automatically relate to what she was going through or relate to what the defender was going through. Okay, so you have to, okay, hold on one second. Jeez Louise. So I saw somebody said, do you notice the bias in that reporter's voice? Everybody in this case is already having bias. Even the people who do not want to say that this is self-defense, they don't even know why they don't want to say it's self-defense. They're struggling. to say that it is anything but self-defense. And certainly the bias, absolutely. This person was gunned down. This person was a veteran. This person was a father of 3. Like, what does a father of 3 have to do with it when you're going at full speed towards a female in a parking lot, right? Where women are victims of crime, right? There's a reason that people tell women, and not just women, but men, there's a reason that people tell women to be alert in transitional spaces. The main transitional space that you are literally at risk of attack is in the parking lot. Getting into your car, getting out of your car, walking towards your car. People drill this into women. Be hyper vigilant, hyper alert in transitional spaces. Now, do I think that that's what she was worried about? No. Right? If I'm being perfectly honest, it's not like it's 9 p.m. and she's walking in the dark to her car and all this kind of stuff, right? Have your key in your hand, all that kind of stuff. Do I think that's what she was thinking about? No. She was actually responding to the incident that was actually happening, right? It wasn't just a general level of hypervigilance. But I can tell you, as a woman who does carry a firearm almost everywhere I go, almost all the time, I am constantly aware of where my firearm is. How long would it take me to get to it? Is it locked and loaded? Is it not? Is the safety on? Is it chambered, right? I am literally aware of that every single second. Now, would I get out of my car to confront somebody? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Might she have been justified in doing that? Possibly. It will come out. I think that is the biggest thing that's going to count against her. That is the biggest thing that's going to count against her. All right, I'm going to play the video again for people who weren't here. And I want you to watch the video again, watch how he approaches. I'm telling you, I cannot bear to hear from this daughter. I'm going to fast forward past it. I can't even bear it. Apparently they're all estranged and everything. Anyway. Oh, he was such a nice guy, but he was terrorizing another woman in a parking lot. And probably you too, which might be why you're estranged. I don't know. I wasn't there, but. All right, I'm gonna pull up this video. I'm gonna play it again. Wait a minute. Sorry, you guys. I got to go back. Did he have that limp when he was walking up to her? Let me see that again. As he's walking up to her, before that minivan pulls out, was he limping? Because that limp came on pretty strong when he came around that corner. You guys, you tell me.
The victim with the gray shirt.
In this case, she was estranged from her dad for many years. Recently, they were trying to rebuild their lives when he lost his life.
We're going to start this with the video. The victim with the gray shirt. The woman with the gun. There is a standoff, and then the shooting. You can hear it.
He was a good man.
52-year-old father, Bart, shot in the stomach in a Walmart parking lot in North Lauderdale.
I just don't think anybody deserves to lose their life over a parking spot.
Cops say an adult female and the victim were involved in a verbal altercation over a parking space in the Walmart parking lot prior to the shooting.
I don't like to deal with death and like talk about it at all. That's why I was very hesitant to do this interview.
But you are doing it. Why do you want to speak about your dad?
Because I want my dad to be remembered.
According to investigators, the shooter, the adult female, remained on scene, cooperated with detectives, and she told them the shooting was in self-defense.
He loved his country. He loved his country.
Bart served in the military. There are no charges in this case at this point. Amanda says she was estranged from her dad for relationship. And just like that, a life lost. And throughout the interview, you can see the pain on her face.
He moved down here 3 years ago with intentions on rebuilding the relationship.
And during the time we spoke with Amanda, the daughter, she kept repeating to me, over a parking spot, over a parking spot.
Okay. Over a parking spot, over a parking spot. It's not over a parking spot. The parking spot issue was gone. He got shot because he came at a woman he didn't know at full speed. And people are going to trivialize the fear that this woman may very well have been feeling. And I say may very well because there's one other thing I want to say about that. The reason certain states have stand your ground laws and some don't. The basic reason for a stand your ground law, there's two big reasons, right? It is very closely tied to the concept of property ownership, that you shouldn't have to be moved off your square, that a man's home is his castle. That's at the heart of capitalism, right? The ability to invest in something, to make it nice, and to exclude others from it. The problem is, and by the way, you guys, that's a very American ethos, right? The idea of property ownership, the idea of being able to exclude others from property just because you own it, is a very American concept. There are countries in the world where it's not a part of their dream or value to own property. Right? Even kids who are American, one day I'm gonna own a nice house and it's gonna have a white picket fence and all, right? This is very American. There are other countries where that's so bizarre. People live their entire lives in rented properties. It's not a part of the dream to have your own property. But tied deeply into American capitalism is this idea that if I buy something, I own it, I can say who gets to be on it and who doesn't get to be on it. The problem is when that feeling expands to places that you don't actually own or to the country in general, right? And this is one of the things that some people would argue white males feel, that they own the entire country. They own the sidewalk, they own the street, they own their home, they own, right? And from that comes the belief that they can tell people where they can and cannot be. So the thought to him of losing a parking spot to someone, whoever this woman is, he can't deal with it. It's literally unbearable to him. So what does he do with a limp and everything? He chases this poor woman around the parking lot. Right? Every time he made a right turn to chase her around another side of another car, at any point it could have just occurred to him, hey, let me not do that. I see you, Justice. The gray heart, co-counsel, love it. Right? Because he literally cannot handle it. But I don't know how it's going to cut that she got out of her car with that gun drawn. All right. Yeah, so Devin G said, right, it was not over a parking spot, it was over his actions, right? That's a way of trivializing Black people. That's a way of saying, Black people don't have impulse control. They'll kill you over a pair of sneakers. They'll kill you over a parking spot. It's not that. It's that he came towards her. But also, it's 400 years of history of white men doing harm to Black bodies, especially Black female bodies. So you can't talk about what her fear may have been when a large white man is bearing down on her. You can't answer that. Okay, so let me see what you guys are talking about. Oh boy. If you definitely want me to read your comment, please send it with a super chat. Otherwise, I'm just gonna scroll through here. See what jumps out at me. Yeah, someone said that he appeared to walk away and then came back. I mean, the statute tells us what has to have been going through her mind. Now, whether or not she makes it out, time will tell. What was going through this guy's mind? I mean, I think I just told you what it is. Like he didn't think that she was serious because Black women are not known to be defenders, even though Black women are the highest growth in gun purchases of any demographic in the entire country. But he obviously didn't think she was serious. It could be because he didn't like the way she was holding the gun. He's a veteran, so maybe he thought, and there's this, tell me if you guys have heard this crazy notion that Black people don't know how to hold guns, and that if you're in a shootout with them, you'll win because they don't know how to hold their guns. If that were true, there wouldn't be so many gun violence deaths, right? Obviously, somebody's holding the gun, right? He may have looked at her and thought, and I've heard veterans say this, he may have looked at her and didn't like the way she was holding the gun and therefore didn't think she was serious. We'll see. Right? He couldn't believe that he had been one-upped by this woman. He tried to block the spot so that she couldn't get in, and she got in anyway. And this is honestly, this is part two of the this is kind of part two of the incident, right? Because there was a previous incident between them where I think he went into the store and came back out. Y'all, tell me if you've heard that. Tell me in the chat if you've heard that they had some kind of an incident. He went into the store and actually came back out. I haven't seen the footage of that, right? When Walmart releases its footage, which it will, then we'll see how the whole thing started. Okay. Yep, he should have walked away back to his car. She should have too. Here's the thing. And there's no duty to retreat, right? Some states do still have a duty to retreat. Florida used to have a duty to retreat. There's what's right and there's what's the smart thing to do based on how you want to spend the rest of your week or the rest of your year, right? This thing was so slow motion. Either one of them had plenty of time to be like, let me just rethink. Let me just do something different. And that's the problem. All right. Based on what you taught us, we have to examine what happens after he closes the distance. If he closed that distance, who knows what might happen. She does have the right to get out of the car, right? Okay. So E.L. Summers is our future lawyer in the chat. So what the comment is about is, I've always said that self-defense comes down to that moment after, right after the defender defends. If you think, right, so the question is, what would have happened in the moment after if the defender had not defended? If you think something catastrophic would have happened, then the defender had the right to defend, right? It's a way of interrupting what's about to happen. It's in redirecting the course of events. Okay? If you think that in the moment right after, either nothing would have happened, nothing bad would have happened, it wouldn't have been deadly force that happened, then you will not agree that the defender was reasonable to defend. Now, the further away the threat is from you, and that includes moving projectiles and things like that. We have no indication that he had a moving projectile, a Chinese star, a pair of nunchucks. We have no indication that he had anything, right? And at that distance, you have to ask what reasonably would have happened. Now, she did not have to wait until he was in her arc of safety. Who's old enough to remember the arc of safety? When I was a kid, they taught us to stay out of people's arc of safety. And that was basically like if someone extended their arms out side to side and did a windmill, would they hit you? If they hit you, you're too close, right? So nobody is saying that she needed to wait until he was in her arc of safety, because someone can close that distance pretty fast. But for the sake of the point, the further away the person is, the less reasonable it is to defend. If they're right up on you or picking up speed towards you, of course, because within the very next moment, the outcome could have gone the wrong way. Okay, so that's the first part of what E.L. Summers is talking about. The second question is, she does have the right to get out of the car, right? Of course, anybody has the right to get out of the car. However, if it turns out to be true, as it looks from this picture, that she got out of her car with that gun in her hand, This is what I'm talking about. If you give people anywhere to go, they will take it and run with it. What was she moving towards when she pulled out her gun and got out of her car, right? She was affirmatively moving towards something. Something that she perceived. I don't know. If it comes out that the firearm was on her person, which is not what people are saying, I don't know, we'll see. But if it comes out that it was actually on her person and she saw what he was doing first and then pulled it out, that's cleaner. But she absolutely has the right to get out of the car, E.L. Summers. But what was she moving towards? I don't know. It's almost like she was, who knows? Was she, I don't know. Maybe she thought he was going to do something to her car, and so she pulled it out to threaten. Let me go to the statute, because I want to make sure that you guys see the statute, because there's some information that is not, that is going around that is not true. You guys don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and super chat if you want to support the channel and have your question read out loud. All right. So I'm going to read these two statutes. I read them a little bit earlier, but if you weren't here, these are the key words that you're going to be looking for. Okay. These are the key words. This is a two-part statute. There's the part one that we're about to see, and then over here is part two, and we're going to get into that. Part one is when it's not deadly force. Part two is when it is deadly force. Okay. Part one says, a person is justified in using or threatening to use force, except deadly force, against another when and to the extent that the person reasonably believes that such conduct is necessary to defend himself or herself or another against the other's imminent use of unlawful force. A person who uses or threatens to use force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat before using or threatening to use such force. And the reason I'm focusing on the word threatening, and there's a couple of other words that I'm going to draw your attention to. The reason I'm focusing on the word threatening is because I've seen some YouTubers today, I've seen some concealed carry people today say, you cannot pull out your weapon until you're ready to use it. You don't pull out your weapon to scare somebody. Now, it might not be wise, because in the time it takes you to get yours out to threaten somebody, somebody else might get their shots on target. And you were trying to threaten them. They didn't know that, and they put you away. Right? So it might not be wise, but the statute clearly says that you are allowed to threaten that I will use this weapon. Okay, so let's look at the other words in here. A person is justified in using or threatening force except deadly force, right? Remember, part two is the deadly force one, and we'll get to that. It says when and to the extent that the person reasonably believes that the conduct is necessary, right? Next line, imminent use of unlawful force, okay? So we're looking for necessary to the extent that, that's the proportionality that people keep saying is not in these statutes. It's right there, clear as day. And the other's use of force must be imminent and unlawful, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to take these videos and they're going to compare it to the words in these statutes. And again, I would argue that you don't even have to argue it. This is between the lawyer and the jury. Right? A reasonable person standard is nothing. It means nothing. You need to put the jury in the mindset of a reasonable Black woman who's in mourning being approached by a white man at a high speed in her direction. What is reasonable for that woman? That woman who may, unless she's TPS, right? She may have 400 years of trauma running through her veins in this exact scenario, right? So that's between the lawyer and the jury. It's my job as the attorney to get the jury to see it through her standpoint and not think that they are the reasonable person. Because unless you've lived her life, you are not her. And for all intents and purposes, you are not the reasonable person in this case. Okay, so let me go to the deadly force one. Again, we're going to be looking for keywords, and the keywords are the words that you take the videos, you take the witness testimony, you take all of that stuff, and you go through the statutes line by line and see if you satisfied these things, right? So the prosecutor, if they believe that these have not been satisfied, the prosecution will charge this crime, right? So then the defense counsel, when we get to trial, we have to show that this behavior did not match the statute. This behavior, or did or did not match the statute, right? Whatever we needed to do. right? So what if it's a homicide statute, the defense counsel wants to show this behavior did not meet the statute. If it's this affirmative defense, then we want to say all the facts show that this incident did satisfy the affirmative defense of self-defense, and that is an affirmative defense. Okay. All right. So let me get into the text here. A person is justified in using or threatening to use deadly force. So this is the deadly force portion of the statute. Number 1 was the non-deadly force. Okay. If he or she reasonably believes that using or threatening to use such force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself or another, or to prevent the imminent commission of a forcible felony. A person who uses or threatens to use deadly force in accordance with this subsection does not have a duty to retreat and has the right to stand his or her ground if the person using or threatening to use the deadly force is not engaged in criminal activity and is in a place where he or she has a right to be. Okay, so that's how this goes. You take the facts and you apply them to this statute. All right, let me see here. Okay, someone said, or they could turn it upside down and say she was out to unalive someone because she was in mourning. So there's a lot of conversation that every time someone needs to use their weapon, that they were out looking for somebody to. I mean, I think that is so rare. But anything is possible. I mean, it could come out that she was driving around the Walmart parking lot looking for somebody to just do in. Oh, and this guy raised his hand. I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely. All right. Yeah. So I don't, someone said, I'll be shocked if she's not charged. It's an interesting thing because given where the country is right now, if this woman is charged, it's going to do one of two things. Either she's an immigrant, she might be a Haitian immigrant, or she could be from anywhere, but in that part of Florida, she could very well be a Haitian immigrant. It will add to the narrative that these immigrants are coming in with murder on their minds, right? This sort of MAGA rhetoric that immigrants are here to harm and kill and do all this stuff. If she turns out to be a Black American, right on the heels of Carmelo Anthony, I don't know. I mean, something somewhere is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I don't know what else it's going to take. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But like I said, I mean, this one is, other than her getting out the car with the gun, this one is pretty clear cut that this guy was in pursuit and that she gave him plenty of warnings. Oh, there was one other thing. I almost forgot to mention this. There was some conversation, and I did see it on the video, but I didn't see it on this version of the video. It was clipped out. After he was already on the ground, she can be seen. You guys, let me know in the chat if you saw this footage. She can be seen going up over him and wagging her hand at him. No idea what she was saying, but people were saying, and then she comes and taunts him. Now, I don't know if that's true, that I saw with my own two eyes. I saw the footage where when he was already down on the ground, she came over and was leaning on top of him and shaking her hand at him, as in like, almost like scolding him or something. That's the vibe it kind of gave me. We don't know what she was saying to him unless it's picked up on a recording somewhere. Maybe 911 picked it up. But people who are not comfortable with her getting self-defense, they're going to try to use that. Well, why was she taunting him after? If she was so afraid, she would have gotten out of there. Now, this is what's funny. This is what's funny. People said that when she taunted him, people have been like, if she were so afraid of him, she would have gotten out of there. The same people said that the fact that Carmelo Anthony did get out of there afterwards is proof that he was guilty, right? So it doesn't matter if you stay or if you go. People who don't think that people like you get self-defense, they're going to have a problem with it. They're going to have a problem with it, right? And this is, I don't know. Like I said, this is when they will use anything that they can against you, right? They're going to use the fact that she got out of the car. They're going to use whatever she may have said on the 911 call. If the 911 call picked up anything that he said, they're going to use the fact that it was a slow motion O.J. Simpson type of event. They're going to use the fact that she appeared to be, and she did, she appeared to be mouthing off and taunting him while he was down on the ground. I forgot about that. I didn't put that footage. Did anybody see that? Did anybody see that footage where after he was down on the ground, she went over top of him and was, pointing to him and kind of wagging her hand? People may very well use that against her. Okay, so let me know what, let me see here. The same couple comments keep popping out. I don't know why. She did a duty to herself and her life. His was clearly on the passenger side. He was clearly on the passenger side when she ran. Yes, she did a duty to herself and her life. He was clearly on the passenger side when she was at her door. I don't know. Okay, so someone is saying here that there was no threat. High speed. Yeah, so initially, when he first approached her, he was traveling at a very high speed towards her. And when he came around that corner and she kind of raised that gun a little bit, he definitely slowed down. He kind of reacted like maybe he was caught off guard. I'm not sure. But as I looked at the video, there's no reason he should not have seen it unless he did not look down into her hand, because it was down by her side in her hand. But when he came around that corner and she raised it up a little bit, then he was like, whoa. But he still kept going. He still kept going on towards her. So anyway, so this is the clearest picture of her that I think we have. And I did a lot of work to clear up this picture. I don't know. Does she look like she left her house that day? Like, let me find somebody to use this weapon on? Or does she look like she was going to Walmart? I think this case is so doggone bizarre. I was saying earlier, you guys, that when I tried to find the footage and I typed in Walmart shooting, like 12 or 13 different shootings popped up. I guess there's a lot of activity at Walmart. So yeah. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to play the video. She does not have to retreat to her car. No, she does not have to retreat to her car. That's not the question. The question is whether or not she got out of her car with that gun looking for trouble. I don't know. There's that old saying, when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, what happens? Something's gotta happen, right? And sometimes when you have two people, I don't know, someone's got to be like, let me get out of here. So let me just reiterate this point. Part of the reason that stand your ground exists is because, right, the part of the reason that there's no duty to retreat is because to require a person who feels like they are in imminent danger to also take the time to look around, find their options, assess their options, weigh the relative strengths and weaknesses of each option, and act is too much of a burden. It's too much of a psychic burden to put on that person at that moment. especially when they're not the one who caused the problem, right? So in the law, there's this idea in a lot of different areas of law, not just criminal law, that the person who created the problem is often in the best position to avoid the problem. Not always, right? So if you look here, the person who created this problem was this guy moving towards her. So why would you then put the duty on her? Again, this is the difference between what's legal and what's smart, right? Why would you put the duty on her? In theory, she's terrified. So you want her to stop being terrified so she can look around and see which way she should go. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I put my gun down? Should I jump in my car? Should I run? Right? She got 1,000 choices in that moment. It's not fair to put the burden on her to have to be the one to get out of the situation when she, A, didn't cause it, but B, she's the one who's terrified. Her mind is absolutely busy being terrified, or any defender, right? So that's why you don't have a duty to retreat. Like I was saying earlier, it's the idea that this is my space. You can't take me off my space, but it's also the idea of who is in the better headspace to end this. And it's always the attacker. Okay, I see another super chat. I recognize that face. That's E.L. Summers. The statute only says she has to believe that force is immediately necessary. Black people have to be perfect because they could say she provoked him. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I always say. If you are Black, they do not give you any, right? Where you say you have to be perfect, you have to be perfect. They do not give you a pass. And we see it time and time and time and time again. Black people do not get a pass when it comes to self-defense. It has to be so blatant and so egregious for the court's law enforcement jurors to reluctantly acknowledge self-defense. Right? And they're also more likely to move towards trial and let the jury decide. It is extremely rare for a Black person at a scene, and you can look this up on your own, to claim self-defense and not go to jail. Right? There's no talking your way out of it to avoid going to jail. You don't get that pass. You've got to execute. And that's why I said a big thing is going to be that 911 call. If she said anything wrong, she will be charged. Because you can talk your way out of self-defense so fast. And we won't know until we hear that 911 call. Now, Florida loves to do a press conference. They love press, not necessarily this county. I think this is Broward County, but there's I don't know if you guys have ever seen that sheriff from Hillsborough County. He loves to do a press conference, and then he puts up the 8.5 by 11 picture of the victim or the assailant or whatever it is. But the good thing about Florida is that they have sunshine laws where all of this stuff will come out. All of this stuff will come out. But yeah, you're absolutely right, E.L. Summers. Thank you for the super chat and thank you for the comment. Now they also may say, and I think I actually heard somebody say this, that he had PTSD. And so maybe he flipped into like military combat mode or something when he saw her weapon. I mean, who knows what people are going to try to say. But I did hear someone say that he was a veteran with PTSD, a father of 3. The daughter said he was trying to get his life back together. Something about watching that daughter talk is really, maybe she'll grow on me. I'll say that. But on first glance, she's irritating to me for some reason. But anyway, so yeah, thank you for the super chat and thank you for the comment. Okay. Yeah, someone said, if I see a gun, I will walk away because I value my life. We need to leave people alone. You know, let me say this. Whenever I start with, let me say this, I'm about to say a massive sidebar, massive something that has nothing to do with this. A lot of people don't understand, right? When you see those lists of the 10 most stressful things that can happen to you in life, up there with the death of a spouse, bankruptcy, the death of a parent, right? a lawsuit, litigation, a criminal trial, these things are always on that list. The legal process is so stressful to people that anything you can do to avoid it, it's worth it. Anything you can do to avoid, even if you're in the right, right? And this gets down to the difference between what's legal and what's smart, what's legal and what's moral, what's legal and what's logistically better for your week can be very different things. So you might be right and still mess up the whole rest of your life, right? You might be right and become a face that everybody knows walking down the street, or a meme or something like that, right? And that's the thing. Like, I read a lot of YouTube videos and stuff where the people are in the comment are like, oh, that, you know, thank God for my Second Amendment rights, and thank for blah, 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 blah. I would have done this. I would have shot this person. I would have done blah, blah, blah. Okay, maybe. Or you could just turn around and go home. Take the L, suck it up. It's not even an L, right? Like, neither one of these people, if these people had, either one of them had turned around and walked away, by the end of the day, maybe by the end of the trip to the exit to the parking lot, they would have forgotten it happened. Now look. And people say they would do this. They, you know, if you're not saying, if I could walk away, I would walk away, you're not saying the right thing. You're not saying the right thing. So anyway, for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Gray. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I am a real practicing attorney, licensed in multiple states, and now I'm a YouTube creator, having a lot of fun doing that. This is my channel, Counsel Gray, and I present legal and social commentary on your favorite cases and issues. This is not legal advice. Nothing I say should be construed as legal advice. Do not change any of your legal positions based on anything you think you heard me say. And I talk all things trial procedure and trial strategy. I try to bring in my own experience. I've dealt with a lot of this stuff. I have dealt with the craziest stuff. I've dealt with complicated litigation, criminal and civil. I have seen a lot, but I also understand the strategies that the parties use, the strategy that defense counsel uses, the strategy that the state or the plaintiff will use, how the two sides will try to use the same statutes to prove two different things. But most importantly, juries. The psychology of a jury is probably the most important thing if your case makes it to jury, right? And a lot of, I think like maybe 4% of all matters, civil and criminal, make it to trial, and a subset of that is a jury trial. But if you do have a jury trial, understanding the psychology of jurors and how to get them to side with you even when your guy is the bad guy or perceived as the bad guy, it's an important skill. So I try to talk about all of those things. What will, you know, if she ends up going to trial, what her lawyer will have to do, the work her lawyer will have to do. I already talked about the reasonableness standard does not apply. It's going to be a reasonable Black woman who's in mourning, being bared down on by a white guy who's larger than her. And the fact that he didn't turn around could lead you to believe that this guy might be mildly insane. Because everybody is saying, if someone pulled a gun out on me, I heard someone say, hey, wait a minute, if a woman pulls a gun out on you, right? Like there's something magical about a woman pulling out a gun. But the point is, if someone pulls a gun out on you and you don't change course, that might make you more likely to get shot, because then the person's like, now, wait a minute, this guy's he's not doing what he's supposed to do right now. So anyway, someone said, no, the most important thing should be getting to the truth. That is the prosecutor's job. That is the prosecutor's job. But thank you for the job of defense counsel is to give your client the most vigorous defense that you can give them. Is not to get to the truth, because if it were to get to the truth, well, I'll just leave it there. But no, getting to the truth is the prosecutor's job. That's law enforcement's job. The problem is that they don't think that's their job. They think their job is to win. Defense counsel's job is to give a vigorous defense and ensure that they get a fair trial. So, because I'll tell you why. If it were defense counsel's job to get to the truth, if a client confessed something to us, we would be obligated to tell the court, and we're not, right? We're not obligated to do that. So no, that is not true. Okay. Golden rule of safety when someone approaches your car is to stay inside, lock the doors, and raise the windows. That car is your protection. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I will say that if you're being, if someone is coming up to your, and this is where it gets murky, if someone is coming up to your window and you see that they're about to attack you, you may not want to be fighting from that position, right? You may want to get up so you're fighting face to face as opposed to someone raining down blows into your vehicle, right? You can certainly make that claim. You know, like if someone says, well, why'd you get out? Well, because I didn't want to get pounded in a chair by someone who's standing above me. So, yeah. Okay, let's see what else I got here. You guys, if you haven't already liked the live, please go ahead and do that. It helps the channel immensely. It spreads it around. You guys are the ones who tell YouTube what YouTube should do with this video when this live is over. So if you would like it, comment, subscribe, and super chat. That would be greatly appreciated. The gun was warning him to back off, and she also said walk away. Now, I should do, you guys, let me know if you want me to do a video. This is a lot of work to do this particular video, but I feel like it's necessary. Let me know if you guys want me to do a video on how to handle self-defense. There are a lot of channels, and I'll say this. There are a lot of channels that handle second defense type law, right? They give you scripts, what you should say, what you should never say, you know, what you should be doing with your body. And I'm going to say that there are networks, right? Those Second Amendment networks, right? Whatever you think they are 10 to 20 years ahead of people who are outside of those information networks in terms of what to say, what not to say. It's very formulaic. There are scripts that you use, and that's how you get out of a claim. If you are not trained, you will say something that will talk you right out of your self-defense claim. Let me know if you guys want me to do a video on that. I have to think how I could do that. That's a lot of work because the rules are different slightly. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you have to know what to say. You have to know what to say after an incident in order to not waive the affirmative defense of self-defense. Okay. But there's a lot of information out there about it so that you don't mess up and say the wrong thing. I have said in other videos that in 60 seconds, if you're not careful, if you're not calm, if you don't keep your wits about you, in the first 30 to 60 seconds, you can talk yourself into 40 years. You can talk yourself out of self-defense. So you want to be really, really careful. Okay. There's definitely a disparity in what we perceive as self-defense and what lawful self-defense actually is. Forgetful elephant. Tell me what you mean by that. I agree with you, but if you can expand on that a little bit and tell me what you think. Yeah, one of the things, let me go back here. One of the things that people debate, and I don't know why. You see right here where it says when and to the extent that. That's the proportionality part. People say, oh, there's no proportionality. They're absolutely, they don't use the word proportionality, but it's right there. When and to the extent that. Not beyond the extent, not, you know, less than the extent, but to the extent. To the extent that. And this is Florida's actual statute here. I pulled it off of, I should have put the citation here, but I think I pulled it off the Florida Sunshine. This is literally their website. This is literally the website. The statute is literally pulled from their website. Okay. she felt like he was going what she felt like he was going to threaten her, in my opinion. Yeah, so the key there is the word threaten. What does that mean? Like, if I think you're going to threaten me, do I get to kill you? You know, what do you mean by threaten? Right? And that's a word you don't want to use. You don't want to use, oh, I think he's going to threaten me. No, I think he's going to kill me. I'm afraid. Another thing you might choose to say to a person, tell them that you're afraid. Tell them that you're afraid of them. Out loud. The proportionality. Oh, okay. All right. I just touched on it. Okay. Facts don't care about your feelings. Mac down. What? Mac down. Mac. Mad. Oh, mad cow moo. What are you talking about? Facts don't care about your feelings. Expand on that, please. All right, let me, while we're here, because some new people have come in, I'm going to play the video. What we noticed from, where is the video? What we noticed from the video is how quickly he approached her. How quickly he approached her until he came around that minivan. And then he saw, maybe she had the gun in her hand the whole time, but when he came around that minivan, and I'm going to play it for you, when he came around that minivan and he saw it, he reacted like in surprise and kind of not recoiled, but maybe recoiled. He kind of like whoa. But then he kept going towards her slowly and with this limp that kind of came out of nowhere. All right, so let me play this again in case you just got here. And then he proceeds to follow her all around. I'm going to fast forward through the daughter talking because I cannot take it. But let's see here.
To rebuild their lives when he lost his life.
We're going to start this with the video. The victim with the gray shirt. The woman with a gun. There is a standoff, and then the shooting. You can hear it.
He was a good man.
You guys ever see those videos where the people are like, oh, the cameraman had one job? Look at this cameraman.
You can hear it.
He was a good man.
Year-old father, Bart, shot in the stomach in a Walmart parking lot in North Lauderdale.
I just don't think anybody deserves to lose their life over a parking spot.
Cops say an adult female and the victim were involved in a verbal altercation over a parking space in the Walmart parking lot prior to the shooting.
I don't like to deal with death and like to talk about it at all. That's why I was very hesitant to do this interview.
But you are doing it. Why do you want to speak about your...
I can't even with that daughter. I saw someone on another video. They said the irony of it is that the guy perished in an empty parking spot. Here they are fighting over parking spots, and he took his last breath in a parking lot. I can't deal with the daughter. I don't know why I cannot deal with her.
According to investigators, the shooter, the adult female, remained on scene, cooperated with detectives, and she told them the shooting was in self-defense.
He loved his country. He loved his country.
Bart served in the military. There are no charges in this case at this point. Amanda says she was estranged from her dad for many years, but recently they were working on repairing their relationship. And just like that, a life lost. And throughout the interview, you can see the pain on her face.
Rest in peace to this guy and condolences to the daughter, but something about this daughter, I'm sorry, you guys, God forgive me. Something about her, I just can't take it. God forgive me. Okay, so you guys tell me, what do you think if she jumped out of the car with her firearm in hand. Yeah, there's something about the daughter that I can't. Now, I will say this. I mean, it is a horrible thing to lose someone with stuff that's left unsaid, right? And if they were in the process of putting it back together, that's a tough time to lose a parent. I get that. And I do have compassion for that. But there's something I don't know. Anyway, like I said, God forgive me. Maybe she'll grow on me. But what do you guys think about the fact that if she got out of the car with the firearm? Tell me in the chat. Does that change how you view anything or no? Because to me, it could be the thing that they use against her to make this not available to her. You know, the fact that she was taunting him after he was shot, if that's true. I saw her standing over him, wagging her hand. I don't know what she was saying, though. But she was on the phone, maybe still with 911. I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think about the fact if she did climb out of the car with that gun in hand, does that change anything for you? The fact that this guy kept approaching her is so bizarre. Unless he wanted that to be his last day, which is possible. It's possible. Right? So one of the things that I talked about before is that we know what she's going to have to say her state of mind was, because the statute tells us what her state of mind must be. Him, on the other hand, he's the unknown quantity. He's the unknown quantity. Other than the fact that he's a white guy who thinks that he gets to control everything, where people can and can't be, right? Some kind of sense of, yes, he perished. Some kind of sense of superiority or some kind of sense of dominance that he can dictate where she can and can't be, coupled with the fact that if he literally tried to block her with his vehicle, he tried to block the spot with his vehicle. So apparently I heard, and I have not seen the footage, okay, the Walmart footage will most likely come out, but I heard that he thought that he had blocked the spot and got out of his car and left it in the middle and went into the Walmart and came back out. And in that time, she had scooted herself into that parking lot that he thought he was blocking. Right? Like, if that turns out to be true, he was like, I'm not going to fight you over this parking spot. I'm just going to block it. If I can't get in there, then neither can you. Then he goes into the Walmart and comes out only to find that she actually did get into it. Now he's feeling like he lost. He's feeling like, I thought I was controlling the situation, but she one-upped me. Which, if he's a guy in his ego, and we won't know until the rest of the footage comes out, but either he's in his ego, or he's crazy, or he just didn't think that she would really pull it because America does not know Black women to be defenders. Even though we are the fastest growing group of gun owners. I've been a gun owner for years and years and years. But I can tell you that now, when you go into gun stores, when you go to gun shows, there are surprisingly more Black women in there. It's a beautiful thing. But the country doesn't know us to be defenders. So he may very well have thought, oh, girl, please. Like, oh, that's so cute. Isn't she cute? Well, she was until she put that hot whatever. Right? I don't know. Can you pull up the full video? The media is full of dirty tricks. Here, and I'm going to tell you, I actually struggled to get a cut with this much. If you look at some of the other news channels, the part they cut out was the part where he is beelining towards her. Now, this is the second beeline, right? If you know, you know. This is the second beeline that we've seen. A lot of the news channels did not show him beelining to her. So if there is other footage, I tried to find it. Maybe over the next couple days I'll find it. Walmart's footage would reveal a lot, right? Because Walmart would have the videos up on the poles, so we can see like when the cars came in. We can see if it's true that they had some prior exchange and then he blocked the spot and went into the Walmart. That means he came back out mad. He went in there, did whatever he had to do, and came right back out mad. Still mad. Still mad. I don't know. But if he had time to go, if that's true, if he had time to go into the Walmart, do what he had to do and come back out, she had time to get out of that car and go do what she had to do, but she was still there herself. So I don't know. We have to wait. We have to wait. And I always say that. To me, it looks like clear-cut self-defense, but we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. Okay. Yeah, so someone said, oh, Justice, I wouldn't be surprised if that 911 call reveals that she thought he had a gun. If so, they definitely won't rush to put that out to the public. Yep, maybe she didn't want to be a sitting duck. If she didn't want to be a sitting duck, she could have gotten in that car and driven off. But, I don't know. Again, that comes down to what is legal versus what is wise. The wise thing for both of these people to do would have been the opposite of what they both did. But yeah, I mean, there are some Second Amendment networks, groups that always say that you should say there's a gun. Oh, you always have to say to the 911, I was afraid for my life. This person is trying to kill me. There's nowhere I can go. All the things. You need to get that into the recording, right? And that needs to be the first thing that you say to the police. And then say nothing. You tell 911 that you're afraid for your life. There's nowhere else for you to go. And then when the police come, you say nothing. Because she did not get out of a trip to the police station. She definitely got cuffed and arrested. And then at some point she was released with no charges. But had she been talking and running her mouth to the police when they got on scene, she could have easily said something that would have her still there. So to answer your question, Justice, I think that I hope she said that she had reason to be afraid. So one of the things that I was saying earlier when we first started was, if she said anything like, oh, these people get on my nerves. Oh, who does this guy think he is? Oh, this chump, this jerk, this cripple, this, whatever, something that made him seem like less of a threat would make it less reasonable that she thought she was afraid. That she thought she was in danger. So the 911 call, and they may have already heard it. They may have already done all of this, right? But that's where you talk yourself out of self-defense. Okay, let's see. Yep, he was following her around and being aggressive. This guy was moving so slow. This was like the O.J. Simpson chase. When people had time to go home, make posters, right? They had time to go home, find a piece of poster board and some markers and write or paint on it, run, OJ, run, and then go hang it over the overpasses while he was driving. That's how slow this thing was. That's why it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Okay. I think you shouldn't remain a sitting duck. I think she was smart to get out of the car. That cuts both ways. The smarter thing might have been to drive off. But we'll see. We'll see. They can still file charges against her. Hopefully they won't. But the one thing I think she does have going for her is that she did retreat multiple times and did not have, and he pursued her, right? She did not have to retreat. Now, had she defended immediately when he came around that minivan, it might have been a harder case for her. But the fact that we saw her literally retreat multiple times definitely cuts in her favor. definitely cuts in her favor. All right, you guys, it's been 90 minutes. I appreciate you guys coming out on a Sunday night. Happy 4th of July weekend. Let me just see. Yeah, so apparently there were two pieces of footage, right? That we've seen so far, right? I think Walmart's going to have its own footage, but apparently there was somebody standing by, and that was the person that when she actually, discharged her weapon, he dropped the camera and it started fumbling, right? The cameraman with one job and blew it. But then there's another piece of footage that appears that it came from a parked Tesla, which may have just been a motion activated camera, or there may have been someone in the Tesla that triggered it. On my car, I have motion detector cameras. So when things happen in front of them, but even that, you have to calibrate them because you don't want it to come on every time somebody walks past your car. So I don't know. That could have been an automatic motion detected, or it could have been someone inside that Tesla that recorded it. And there will be other videos that come out, I'm sure. Walmart, including Walmart, they will release their footage. Walmart has everything. If you guys watch anything on TV One, like For Her Man or anything like that, you know that anybody who does their crime in a Walmart parking lot, anybody who buys their shovel and their duffel bag in a Walmart parking lot, you have got to be a fool, because Walmart captures everything. Okay. All right, you guys. So I'm gonna end it here. It's been 90 minutes. I appreciate you guys. Okay. Again, please don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, send a super chat if you want to support the channel. I'm pushing now towards 2,000 subscribers. I think I'm at like 1,500 or almost at 1,500. Okay. What about the Draca case, which was self-defense and ended up getting 20 years? Man gets pushed, shoots a man once, claimed self-defense, ended up getting 20 years. So, well, let me say this. I'm not familiar with that case, but here's what I do know. Sometimes, even if you don't make out so there's self-defense and then there's imperfect self-defense, okay? We don't even talk about imperfect self-defense, and I'm not sure that every jurisdiction has imperfect self-defense. Imperfect self-defense is when one of the elements is missing, or the case could be made that you could have had a self-defense, but one element wasn't made. Sometimes what will happen in that case is you might still get convicted, but you'll get a lower sentencing because it's an imperfect self-defense, right? You didn't just go looking for somebody to unalive, but it also is not a clean self-defense, right? So sometimes you'll see a lesser sentence, right? So in this case, if someone had a failed self-defense claim and they still only got 20 years, it could have been an imperfect self-defense kind of claim. Now, some people would say also that Carmelo Anthony was sentenced more for an imperfect self-defense, right? If the range was up to 99 years, right, he could have gotten life or something like that, but he didn't. He got 35 years, which means even if he did the whole thing, he would come out and still be in his early 50s because it wasn't clean. He was responding to he may have overreacted. That's a good way to describe imperfect self-defense. You overreacted, but you were actually responding to something, right? And you never hear people talk about imperfect self-defense, but it is a real thing. It is a real thing. Okay, so that's really all that I have about this. Time will tell. I know what I would like to see this come down as, and it looks like it may, but things could change. When someone starts looking at why she got out of that car with that gun, something could change. Anything that she said on the audio tapes, it could absolutely change, and she could be taken into custody, right? We saw it with the Ahmaud Arbery case where those guys were out for a year thinking that they were scot-free. So anyway, so Yeah. So if you attack me, then walk my way, I can't retaliate. No. Self-defense is not about retaliation. Self-defense is not about retaliation. It's about surviving a moment. If you phrase it as retaliation or anything retaliatory, you will waive self-defense as an affirmative defense, right? Because retaliation is an affirmative act. Retaliation is an affirmative act. Self-defense is a defensive act. So yes, if you attack me and then walk away, I can't retaliate. That is exactly right. You cannot retaliate. You cannot chase. You can't be prideful. His sentence was ridiculous, 35 with no priors. Yeah, a lot of people think that. I tend to think that, right? Just the other day, I was reading a Texas case where the guy had killed 2 people and he got 25 to life. He only got 25 to life. Carmelo didn't get life. He has a limit on his, but yeah, this guy killed 2 people and got 25 to life. Okay, could they give her the self-defense and charge her with reckless endangerment for getting out of the car with the gat? With the gat. Could they give her self-defense and charge her with the reckless endangerment? So what that would look like is they would charge her with some level of homicide and the included lesser charge of reckless endangerment. So at trial, for the greater charge, the homicide charge, either the self-defense will stand or not. If they don't convict her on the higher charge, they could go down to a lesser included charge of reckless endangerment. Even though it's technically a different act, it's a different act. It's not another level. Yeah, I called it a lesser included charge. It would be another charge on the roster. That would be like a catch-all. If nothing else, right? Or if you find imperfect self-defense, then at least give her reckless endangerment. Yeah, it could collapse into reckless endangerment if they don't convict on the homicide. If we keep retreating instead of using our rights to stand our ground, then they will keep chasing us down like we're runaway slaves. Not advice, just a reality. That is true. And I think you see it right here, right? The country is not accustomed to Black women defending, right? I'm just going to be honest. As a Black woman, what people expect us to do when you make a move on us is to have a fist fight at the Taco Bell, to run our mouth and still buy whatever, we should not be buying, to have an attitude, right? This is what people expect of us. Nobody expects Black women to pull out a gun and stand her ground, right? So he let him be the first one. Let him be the one that sounds the alarm. If they don't, she'd likely get criminally negligent homicide. I don't think that it happened because she was retreating. I don't see a criminally negligent. I don't know. We have to wait and see. We have to wait till the footage comes out. I don't know. The only thing this girl did wrong, not knowing what she said in the 911 call, okay, because that could be her pure disaster right there. The only thing she did wrong, if it's true, is that she got out of that car with that gun in her hand. She had that gun in her hand long before that guy charged her. Now, I don't know if you guys remember in the George Zimmerman case, they had called an expert witness. If you guys remember this guy's name, let me know. I wonder whatever happened to him. They called an expert firearm self-defense expert. And he testified, and he got a question, and the question was, should you wait until you're being attacked to pull out your firearm? And his answer was, no, that would not be smart, or something like that. And if you guys remember that moment in the testimony, the entire courtroom started laughing. It was almost like what a dumb question, right? should you wait? Because that was a part of what people said about George Zimmerman, that he was not being attacked. There was no threat. So I think it was Mark O'Meara, whatever his name was. He asked the guy, he said, should you wait until you're being attacked to pull out your firearm? And the guy was like, no, I don't advise it. That's what he said. He said, no, I don't advise that. And the whole courtroom started laughing because it was obvious. So that's how George Zimmerman was able to get off. It's not smart to wait. If you think you're about to be attacked, it's not smart to wait until you're actually being attacked to defend. So that's the same thing this girl did. It's not smart for her to wait to pull out her weapon. So anyway, all right. How on earth do you get slavery out of any of this story? You must have just joined. Stick around. Thank you in advance for watching. What I was saying about that, for anybody else who didn't hear what I was saying, is when it gets to the reasonable person standard, what the defender or what a reasonable person in the defender's shoes would do. Yes, this is Florida, stand your ground state, right? But it has to be reasonable. Your self-defense has to be reasonable. What I was saying is that as her defense counsel, you would need to get the jury not to think of a reasonable person, because everybody thinks they are the reasonable person. You need to get them to see this through the lens of a Black woman who's potentially in mourning, being approached initially at a high speed and then repeatedly and chased around a parking lot by a white man who's larger than her. And the main interaction that Black women and white men have had, right, the most intimate, long-standing relationship was during slavery in this country, right? So we have 400 years of precedence that where white men have never shown regard for the Black female body, ever. They certainly don't historically and traditionally in this country perceive it as equal to them in any way, worthy of respect in any way. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about 400 years of Black women who have never had a positive experience with a white man. That's what's going through her mind in that moment. And that, as her counsel, you have to get the jury to see it through her mind. So if you guys have not watched my video about, is self-defense available to Black people? I don't think many people watch that, but go back and watch it, right? Because I talk about how the original, this is going back to the slave codes, right? It used to be illegal for a Black person to defend themselves even when being attacked or beaten by a white person. It was illegal, right? So when all of these, if I were on her jury, none of that would be a factor in my mind. Exactly. That's why her trial, and this is a good point, right? Exactly. It wouldn't be on your mind. You would not be thinking to see this through the historical trauma and the historical lens of a Black woman. That is her attorney's job, but you don't necessarily have to say it out loud. You have to do the work. You have to do the work to get them to see it through her lens without telling them that that's what's happening. Because what they're going to say is, oh, nobody was thinking about that, right? But if you, here's the thing. If you try to assign to her what a white woman would have been thinking, what a Black man would have been thinking, what a short person would have been thinking, what a tall person would have been thinking, what Mike Tyson would have been thinking, you would come to a different outcome. The only way to come to the right outcome is to say what is reasonable to her. But that's not what the statute says. The statute says what a reasonable person would do. But that's not good enough for her. It's not good enough for anybody. I mean, anybody that you put in that situation has a different relationship with a man charging towards them. Right? She may have other trauma in her life that makes her sensitive to a man charging at her. Right? And you have to get the jury to understand that this is her experience with this, because that's what she brought to that moment, her experience. Her generational trauma, her 400 years of white men never protecting the Black female form and affirmatively harming it when they could, right? So anyway, that's what it has to do with. Okay. All right. Mad Cow, you may have been addressing my comment. If you don't get the oh, the simile, just educate yourself on what we're speaking of and count your blessings if you can't relate. Here. Amen to that. So in the case, if she has that mindset of white men is bad for 400 years, I could use that she was out for revenge. If you wanted to make that argument and you could prove it, sure. I mean, if you were the plaintiff, if you were the prosecutor and you wanted to say that she were out for revenge, try it. I mean, does that woman retreat the way she retreated? Someone who's out for revenge? Does someone who's out for revenge wait for the guy to go shopping, come back, and then charge her car? I mean, if you want to make that argument, try it. I need the opinions of the Supreme Court on birthright citizenship, and I want to say Justice Brown talked about how Black people didn't have Second Amendment rights. Oh, I read the opinions. Yep. Yeah, so the Second Amendment nobody ever intended for the Second Amendment to apply to Black people or formerly enslaved people or immigrants or never. If you still have that question, go back and watch that video I did about whether or not self-defense is available to Black people. From its formulation, it was never that Black people would ever own guns. Was so foreign to those people. So they certainly weren't thinking about the 3/5 of a man. Absolutely not. Okay. Yep. Fight or flight is encoded in our epigenetics, and entitlement to our bodies is encoded in theirs, it seems. I agree. Many years of history to demonstrate that point. This guy just could not believe that this girl just went up to him and got that parking spot. He just could not believe that this girl would shoot him. Me? I'm a white man. Me? Or his military training could have kicked in and he looked at her the way she was holding that weapon and he was like, oh, she doesn't even know what she's doing. Well, the bullet did. Yet we reference a jury of your peers for a reason. That is absolutely right, because the idea is that the more diverse of a jury pool you have, the more likely somebody is to be able to, right, when they go into the rightful deliberations, somebody is going to be able to say, well, wait a minute, have you thought about it like this? That is the whole point of a jury of your peers. Okay. I am, what does it say? I am Lee Unfiltered. I am what? Amelia. Gosh, you guys are making me see that I need glasses. I would look at the video, see her exit her car with the weapon, and deem her guilty. So if you are the kind of person, you are the kind of juror, right? Everything I've said here was that we have to wait for all the evidence. We have to wait for all the footage. And you come in and what you say is, I would look at the video, see her exit her car with the weapon, and deem her guilty. That's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to look at all of the evidence. You're supposed to look at the full event that happened, right? People who make snap decisions, I don't even get into that. All right, everything I've said here is let's wait until the evidence comes out and see what it is. And you say I'd see her exit with the video, exit the car with the weapon and deem her guilty. Self-protection does not equal revenge. Absolutely. I'm just using your same logic. The hell you are. Maybe you're not talking to me. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know who you're talking about. Okay. Thank you so much, Gray, and thank you for translating through my typos. I appreciate you. Oh, Leah. Okay, let me go back. What is it? I am Leah Unfiltered. Okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Harlem's Harriet, good to see you back. A jury of your peers isn't a jury of your ethnic background, which is a misconception that most people have. That is true. However, forgetful elephant, often when there is nobody of your background on a jury, that is not by accident, right? That is pretense, and that is people being excluded for pretense, based on some pretense, right? I mean, you have to really work hard to not have, no matter what ethnicity somebody is, you'd have to really work hard to not have anybody of their ethnicity on the jury. And people get excluded based on pretense all the time. But you're right. It does not mean that it's a jury of your ethnic background. Because there's so many people here with weird little ethnic backgrounds that, you know, there's not that many of you here to even. The video is all I would need. Okay. E.L. Summers. All right, you guys. So I think if there's nothing else, I'm going to end it here. Like I said, let's wait until all the evidence comes out. Let's wait until Walmart's video comes out. Let's wait till the 911 call is released. Let's wait to see if, I mean, obviously this guy was saying something to her. It's possible that the 911 call picked it up. I don't know. All right, you guys, thank you. I'm going to leave it here. Don't forget to like, chat, share, subscribe. I appreciate you guys for coming out on the weekend. Bye.